I wouldn't rule out trading Shedeur Sanders. Mike Florio weighs in on what the Browns plan to do with their 4 QBs. The Cleveland Browns wrapped up a 3-0 preseason with a 19-17 last-second win over the Los Angeles Rams last week. 41-year-old Joe Flacco surprisingly suited up and started in Week 3, leading 3 drives, one of which resulted in a TD. Dillon Gabriel then stepped in and looked capable, leading a 15-play field goal drive and an 11-play touchdown drive. Then it was Shedeur Sanders' turn. That turn, however, did not go to plan for Sanders or the Browns. He was given 4 drives, all of which ended in 3-and-outs, and a 5th that lasted just 5 plays. He managed a 3-4-6 line for 14 yards while being sacked 5 times. He was eventually pulled for Tyler Huntley, who has since been cut, and Huntley engineered the 2-minute drill that led to the game-winning field goal. There has been much discourse about whether Sanders' old issues at Colorado with running into sacks were resurfacing, or if the group of Browns linemen he was playing with were just god-awful. With 5 sacks and 11 dropbacks, it's got to be a little bit of both. Nonetheless, Browns beat writer Mary Kay Cabot reports that Cleveland will keep Shedeur and the other 3 QBs on the 53-man roster, as they had always planned to. With rumors swirling that the Browns will trade Kenny Pickett or waive Shedeur Sanders, the Browns have never wavered in their plan to keep all 4 QBs. That means that Joe Flacco, Pickett, Dillon Gabriel, and Sanders will all still be on the 53-man roster when the cuts are made Tuesday by 4 p.m., Cabot said. Believes they are going the 4 QB route with their roster because all 4, especially Sanders, are viewed as assets that could rise in value depending on how and when they are deployed. He also believes any of these QBs is liable to be traded at some point prior to the deadline in November. I think they're going to try to trade maybe Kenny Pickett before Tuesday, and if they can't, they'll carry 4 guys until maybe they can trade one of these guys. I wouldn't rule out trading Shedeur Sanders, the veteran analyst said via the Pardon My Take podcast. They view their 4 quarterbacks as assets that can be flipped. It's buy low, sell high. They bought Shedeur Sanders low, and now at some point they may try to sell him high. Maybe they can flip him into something more than the 5th-round pick they used to get him, he added. The million-dollar question is, can the Browns get more than they paid for guys like Sanders and Pickett? Florio believes there could be a few teams that were impressed by Sanders' first preseason appearance and are willing to trade a 3rd or 4th-round pick for the 23-year-old. If there's a team out there that was thinking about taking him in round 3, and they saw him play in the preseason, and they saw enough from him. And look, he doesn't have great physical ability, but he's got great instincts. He's got something you can work with. So if there's a team out there that thinks, we really were close to using a 3rd-round pick, we could use a guy we want to develop. It remains to be seen how the trading shakes out. Cleveland named Flacco the starter, and Gabriel, a 2025 3rd-round pick, is guaranteed to stay on. Pickett didn't play in the preseason due to a hamstring injury, but is apparently expected to be ready for Week 1. Head coach Kevin Stefanski said he's still working through who will back Flacco up, though Pickett seemed to be the frontrunner for that role before his injury in early August. He sat at the edge of the internet like a weather vane, part pundit, part provocateur, and let the headlines spin. I wouldn't rule out trading Shedeur Sanders. The sentence landed like a stone in a crowded pond. Ripples. Opinions. 1,000 hot takes. But what if, for a few beats, that sentence was the opening line of a different story? Not a news cycle, but a fable about 4 quarterbacks and a team trying to find a single, quiet truth. Imagine Cleveland as a small, stubborn town with an overstuffed attic called the roster. Up there, for mannequins stand under dust motes and old pennants. Each one polished, each one promised something different. They're not statues, they breathe. They rehearse snaps by moonlight. They argue over mirror reflections and who gets the better cleats. Every so often an adult, coaches, owners, analysts like Florio, climb a ladder and peer in, whispering possibles into the dark. The first quarterback is youth. Hair still smelling of college locker rooms, hands that remember perfect spirals, a gaze trained on future stadiums. He carries a name that opens doors and closes debates. He's the headline magnet. He's the reason fans stay up late Googling draft grades. He dreams and plays yet to be coached. The second is experience, a weathered ledger of film study, a voice that calms rookies, the kind of player who has eaten bitter losses and still eats the same breakfast the morning after. He knows how to make a team feel safe. He's the bridge between yesterday's mistakes and tomorrow's small victories. The third is the undrafted hope, a spine of grit disguised as polite anonymity. He's made of comeback drives on practice fields, ankle scars, and the stubbornness of somebody with nothing to lose. The town loves him because you can root for him without the ache of expectation. The fourth is the question mark. A player whose talent is a flash of light you can't always follow, whose temperament is a riddle coaches try to solve with patience or with the quickness of a trade block. He's both asset and liability, the kind of chess piece that tempts general managers when they imagine building more than one future at a time. Now imagine the general manager in an office stacked with vinyl records and spreadsheets. He flips through scenarios like a jazz musician improvising: trades, contracts, cap space, fan sentiment. He can hear the town's heartbeat from his window. It's loud, impatient, and sometimes inexplicably hopeful. He knows he doesn't have to keep all four. He knows logic doesn't always where the Jersey fans want to see. "I wouldn't rule out trading Shedeur Sanders," says an observer on the porch, and suddenly the attic doors rattle. Here's the thing about trades. They are the language of possibility. They say, in one motion, that the present is malleable. A trade is not necessarily betrayal. Sometimes it is the only way to pay forward the future. You can trade a player and harvest draft picks, flexibility, or a clearer starting point. You can also trade away a story the town was just beginning to like. The ledger in the GM's hand weighs both. In the practice bubble, the four quarterbacks practice the same play until it becomes memory. They laugh, they jab, they throw. They also watch each other like brothers watch the one who might leave for school first. Trading one of them would rearrange dinner conversations, change jerseys sold at the corner shop, rewrite the postcards parents tuck into their kids' pockets. Mike Florio's line, blunt, teasing, deliberate, becomes a kind of mirror. It shows the edges of an organization that must choose between romance and utility. Fans, of course, split into contrarian camps. Some clutch highlight reels and say you can't trade what's still learning to fly. Others thumb through spreadsheets and point to leverage, contract years,